Hello, I'm Marcus V. Calvert, and welcome to Tales Unlimited Kitchen Rants. It is January 19th, wee hours of the morning, of course. Seems to be when I'm at my best. This one is about a story I just finished called The Familiar. It's longer than I normally do, about 3,000 words after polish, probably be, 3,000 plus. Try to keep your stories at or under 3,000 words. Two reasons. One, a book where you have like 20 to 25 short stories and they're all over 3,000 words, it's going to be mighty long. That's a good thing for the reader. It's not so good for you because longer books cost more than not so long books, right? The unit price and cost per unit goes up. You got to raise your price. Overall, you probably sell fewer books. At the same time, you don't want to be doing like 500 word short stories. Decent range, in my experience, just under 2,000 to 3,000. It's a good range. That's one reason, business price, right? Second reason is, okay, sooner or later, probably, you're going to be invited to do open mics or readings. It's good to have short stories that you can read at these things that aren't like 6,000 words or more, because 6,000 words, if you're reading nonstop, is like 20 minutes. You'll lose your crowd. You might lose your voice. 3,000 words that's pushing the envelope. 1,500 is good. And if I know I'm going in, I actually have a few stories that are under 1,000 words. It's like a 5-minute or less presentation, like a business card that says, hey, I know what I'm doing. And it makes you look better than someone who only writes novels and all they can do is read an excerpt from a chapter. So they read a piece of their book and they always seem to want to do the first chapter, which is never quite a rock'em sock'em chapter, is it? Usually it's a build-up, right? Anyway, if you're sitting next to somebody reading their first chapter in a book, read a short story, something like a 400-word piece that I once did about a guy who is super cool, but only when he's drunk. And it's a fantasy tale. So he wakes up, realizes he killed a dragon. I basically went through this guy's life and then had him stumbling off looking for wine. And I did it all in 400 words. An entire full story. Someone hears that and goes, what else you got? And then you sell circles around a novelist. That's an edge of short stories, one of many. Another, of course, is the fact that if you can write short stories in a 3,000 word range, that means you can cut away fluff. I mean, if you want to be the big bag novelist someday and you want to go beyond that, fine. But starting small, starting lean, never hurts. You may have to write something lean. You may have to write a nice, quick, dirty tale. And if you think of short stories like chapters, you'll understand my point. There's an efficiency to the storytelling. And then you stack those short stories. Now, Familiar, what happened here was urban fantasy based on a prompt. What happens if a witch dies and leaves her familiar to a human hitman who has no grasp of the occult? Well, as you have seen if you've been following these rants, straight from that post, the hitman, second generation, knows about the occult, doesn't mess with it, hates it. But he keeps an eye out for it because once in a while he has to kill something that goes bump in the night. He is kind of the Baba Yaga, and he basically, like John Wick style, and he goes around killing people, and he is fearless, he is sadistic, and he meets this gal named Abby. He loves her. She's into the occult, she's into mysticism. She doesn't know it's real. It's just like a passing fancy, and then she finds out what he does for a living, and she also finds out magic exists. I'm thinking the same night. I gotta flesh that out, but that's what makes them break up. She doesn't approve of his line of work, so he respects that. She goes her way, but the bug, it gets her. She wants power. She wants magic to do good, so she gets tricked into selling her soul to a pack demon. Pack demon himself has an interesting past. I won't go too deeply into it. But let's just say he's ambitious, he's on the rise, and like any self-respecting pack demon, he screws over everybody he does business with. And in her case, he gives her a portion of his power. She's a witch. Yay, wow, she can cast spells. Then what does he do? He has her possessed. Calls in a lesser demon from the pit to possess her. Not a familiar, but kind of more like a possessive entity, like a notch up. And she's rampaging in the hitman's town. The hitman gets wind of this, and he does what you might effectively refer to as a street exorcism. It involves a knife, some rope, a stolen car with a good hard bumper, and a loaded 45. It's amazing what you can do to change a possessive entity's frame of mind and perspective if you put a gun against his host's eye and make him blink. Oh, yes. And the strangest thing happens. These two catch this entity, turn him into a familiar, and they become a family of sorts. And then the pack demon comes along and screws it up. Vengeance, of course, ensues. Yeah, this one will make the cut. I got to polish, of course, but yeah, I like the flow of it. Probably gave away too much. I'm sorry. But don't worry, it'll have some tweaks to it that will still surprise you. All right, I am Marcus V. Calvert, and this is Tales Unlimited Kitchen Rants. Please like and subscribe. www.ivillain.net, one word. That will lead you to my website where I have my short story collections, 6 books. There is the Unheroic series, which is ha 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 dark, and then there's the Book of Schemes, which is ha dark, and the iVillain series, novels, and of course my guides for writing, batteries, prompts, antagonist cookbooks, which is like a guide for creating characters for unusual stories, like this one. What I would offer to any of you who have my batteries in your possession, kick those puppies off and read them. Just read the prompts, because sometimes you can take prompt A and then prompt Q and merge them into a story. It's kind of what I've done over these last few stories. It's kind of getting into a habit now where I'm taking like prompts I've created, haven't even thought of it for a long time, and go, okay, I'll use this prompt and this prompt, and I'll stir it up and see what happens. Food for thought. All right, I'm going to take a break. Then I'm going to polish off the cookbook. I'm thinking off to the editor around February. Maybe even sooner, the way I'm going. All right, ta-ta.